I'm Lee Mills. I'm here today to talk about my wife, Laura Mills, and the experience she had throughout her illness and leading towards the end of her life. Laura's illness exacerbated about 2014, where she was diagnosed with hypersensitivity pneumonitis. There was obviously ongoing course of steroids and various things like that, and that progressively got worse. We had an appointment with a consultant doctor. Laura would be a candidate for a lung transplant with conditions attached to it, some of which included losing weight, which Laura did. She didn't reach the desired target weight. It really did feel as though there was a carrot on a stick that we were never going to get to. We went through various pulmonary rehabs, weight loss clinics, all of which came back and said, well, there's nothing else we can do for you, there's nothing different we can give you. We even tried a Saxenda injection to try and help lose weight, but just nothing would happen. But bearing in mind, Laura was also still on a very high dose of steroids to control the lung condition, so we were very much fighting that. We were very close, we were within 1 point of a BMI. Why can't we go just for an assessment for a lung transplant? Why can't we go there and be told by these people who would actually make the decision about the transplant, yes or no, and this is the reasons why, rather than leaving us here with, sorry, we can't do anything else for you for the sake of 1 point of a BMI. At the first lockdown, so in 2020, we had a phone call appointment, and we were told at that point that obviously the transplant would be taken off the table and that we'd now be transferred over to a palliative care team. And from there we met the likes of Sharon Jones, who was very nice. We didn't like the reason Sharon was there, but as a person, what she was saying was her job and what she had to do, and she was very nice about it. But we had these reassurances that at the end of your life, Laura, you'll be comfortable, you'll be asleep. You have an advanced care plan in place. Laura's condition very quickly got worse over that 12 months. The slightest movement, Laura's heart rate would skyrocket and her oxygen levels would drop, until on Boxing Day she passed out with pain. And at that point, Sharon suggested that she should be bedbound, so do not leave the bed under any circumstances. And we were told that it looked as though Laura had days or weeks to live at that point. But obviously that wasn't the case. Laura survived until the 23rd of April, under the conditions that she had to stay in bed, which we did do. And as a family, we took care of every need that she had to make sure that she was as comfortable as possible. From Boxing Day up until the 23rd, there were very obvious changes in Laura's condition. She would plateau for a couple of weeks, then there would be another drop. Then she would plateau again, then there'd be another drop. The last several weeks of Laura's life, we had district nurses come to the house. And I really have to say, I've never met such a more caring bunch of people in my life. They're absolutely fantastic. We've had an amazing experience with the NHS, with a minority of issues, but the district nurses absolutely are the jewel in the crown. The way they cared for Laura was absolutely fantastic. They treated her like a person rather than a patient, and gave her absolute respect and dignity. During Laura's last week, so Laura passed away on a Friday, on the Wednesday before, I woke up, could see that something had happened to Laura during the night. I couldn't wake her up, so I phoned the district nurses, to come out, by which time it was maybe like 5 minutes to 8. That was within that last 5 minutes of the window where there were no district nurses on call. I just kept phoning. It didn't occur to me at the time, although I knew, but it wasn't something that was at the front of my mind that there was no one there. So I kept ringing until eventually I got hold of one of the district nurses called Julie. And Julie came to the house. I explained to Julie what was going on, by which time Laura had started to wake up a little bit. Nothing, her oxygen stats hadn't improved, but she had started to wake up. Julie made her feel very comfortable. She helped me get her changed and dressed and washed. She gave Laura additional pain relief into her driver, and was just fantastic the whole time. She stayed with us for hours after that until somebody else came. And this is now leading on to the Thursday. That happened all day Thursday. We had people in and out. On the Friday, there was no change. In fact, Laura had got worse. This is the day that Laura had passed away. And throughout the day, there were really obvious changes as to how Laura was breathing and how she was struggling. This was just ongoing through the day, and we all knew that today would be the day. About 4 o'clock, we had district nurses come to the house, and they gave Laura the injections that she was due into the driver for pain relief. They made her comfortable, checked that we were all okay, and they left. And then at about 4:45, things started to change for Laura, and I couldn't get hold of anybody. I rang Sharon Jones, who's the palliative care, who was on duty that day but was doing like a day where she had a course to do at home or something. And she said to me that, yeah, well, this is the hour where you're going to struggle to get somebody. And in my mind I'm thinking, and this is not at Sharon, of course it's not, she doesn't create the rota, but I'm thinking, well, what am I expected to do? Am I expected to tell my wife, hold on babe, can you not die for the next hour? Because there's no one here. I had my 3 children downstairs. I had myself, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister and brother-in-law upstairs, whilst Laura is trying to get out of the bed, panicking, crying, saying that she's in pain. I eventually managed, I had a phone call back from Angela, one of the district nurses, just as she was about to leave for the end of her shift to go home, asked if everything was okay, and within seconds, her and Sarah are both at my house. By which time, their shift had finished. They could have not phoned me back, and throughout nothing other than the goodness of their heart, they came back to my house, and they did what they needed to do to make sure that Laura was okay, but nothing would work. Nothing would put Laura to sleep. Nothing would relax her. All I kept thinking is that she was promised that she'd be asleep, that it wouldn't be traumatic, and it was just that. So her last words to me were, please help me, I can't breathe. And I couldn't do anything for her at all. I just had to sit there and lie to her and say, the nurses are here, it'll be okay. But she knew that it wasn't. She had like the odd lucid moment. And she said to me, I think today's the day. And I said to her, my words were, I think it is, I don't think we're going to get out of this one today. And she was just so brave. Throughout this whole thing, we tried to do as much as we could ourselves without bothering nurses, doctors, carers. We did everything ourselves with a sense of pride, because we were grateful for everything that had already been done, but also because that was our job to look after Laura the way she would have looked after one of us. What I struggle with is I feel that she was massively let down simply because someone somewhere has decided that we need to save money and we're not going to put nurses on call these 2 hours. We were lucky that these nurses came back to us. They didn't have to, but they stayed with us until Laura had passed away. They consoled my children. Laura passed away with her eyes wide open, looking at me, having just said, please help me, I can't breathe. And she just stopped breathing. And I'm all of a sudden left looking at the body of my wife, thinking, how has this just happened? This is not how this was supposed to be. She wasn't asleep. I had to stop her trying to get out of the bed. She told me she couldn't breathe. She told me that her chest was hurting. It was just a traumatic from start to end. And when she was able to make these decisions, Laura was always very clear, I do not want to be drugged. I don't want to be in a position where I can't function. However, from the Wednesday, on the Thursday and on the Friday, Laura wasn't in a position to be able to make those decisions. And as I think about this the last couple of weeks, and please tell me if I'm wrong, but is that not the point that someone should say, do we have an advanced care plan? And if so, what does it say? And if we do, as Laura's husband or next of kin, what do we do? What do you want us to do? Can we up the pain relief? Can we make sure that she's asleep? Can we give her all the comfort that we are possibly allowed to give her? And I don't understand why, when she couldn't speak and wasn't able to make a decision, that nobody said, where's her advanced care plan? And right now, let's go for it. But is it more of a procedural thing? I don't know. But they did up her morphine, and they did try to give her as much as they possibly could within that very small space of time, by which time I just think it was too late. What I can see and what this has shown, and I hope that it's recognised with this, is that the policies and procedures that these people have to follow are not fit for purpose, and they do not suit the needs of a patient, where a health condition can turn at any point in the day.